Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be talking about the snowstorm that's going to be taking place potentially over parts of the Dakotas and the Rockies. We're going to be talking about that in the first part of the video, and then in the second part of the video we're going to be talking about the colder temperatures in the eastern and central United States and the warmer temperatures along the southernmost United States and the western part of the country as well. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. As you can see, we do have a couple of frost advisories up for a little bit of California and New York, but in very, very small areas. We have some wind advisories also scattered throughout parts of Nevada, Oregon, and California. And we also have some red flag warnings in fact for parts of the Dakotas and central and northern Minnesota. Other than that, we don't have many other watches or warnings currently in place for the United States. Yesterday, we had a high temperature in Death Valley, California, where they got up to 105 degrees Fahrenheit, and a low temperature in Peter Sings, Utah, where they got down to 11 degrees Fahrenheit. The highest precipitation report was West Blockton, Alabama, where they got up to 6.75 inches of rainfall yesterday, so quite a lot of rain. And the highest snowfall report yesterday was 2 miles northeast of Leadville, Colorado, where they reported 2.3 inches of snowfall. So here's what the NAM model is showing, and we're going to kind of break down how this is happening. So this would be right around 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So this upcoming Saturday is when we're going to be dealing with this snowstorm, I guess you could call it, especially in parts of western North Dakota and northwestern South Dakota, as well as parts of eastern Montana. That's going to be the bullseye zone right within this area right here. So in that blue, that's where you're already starting to break out into a little bit of snowfall, but it is mostly rain by this point. The actual temperatures are even in the 40s by this point. But then we get to around 2 p.m. or 1 to 2 p.m. on a Saturday in parts of the Dakotas. We're still dealing with mostly rain, but it is starting to break out into a little bit more snowfall. Let's look at why that's happening, and you can see that the temperatures at this exact point would be in the lower 30s throughout this stretch right here. So we're dealing with temperatures between about 34 and 30 degrees. So that is below freezing in some of those areas, and you don't even have to be below 32 degrees to be seeing snow. Of course, it could be 34, 35, even 36 degrees and still snowing because we actually do have a rather cold atmosphere aloft, and the more heavy precipitation that we're going to be seeing, that's just going to translate some of that colder air from the upper parts of the atmosphere and kind of shift that further to the bottom parts of the atmosphere. So as you're getting that heavy rainfall, know that you're also getting some of that cold air to mix in with that and come down to the surface, and because of that, that's how we're going to start to actually see some of our colder temperatures start to pop up, and also some of that snowfall start to pop up on the map. So here would be around 4 to 5 p.m. On Saturday in parts of North Dakota. We're still dealing with some snowfall, again, especially through the western and central part of the state. The NAM model, which is what we're looking at right now, does not show much snowfall for South Dakota or Wyoming, but in some of the other models, which I'm going to show you in just a little bit, we do actually see a little bit of snow potentially popping up in western South Dakota, eastern Wyoming, eastern Montana. So those areas do have a chance of getting in on some of that snowfall. By the way, look at these snowfall rates on some of the snowfall. We're dealing with potentially snowfall rates of closer to an inch per hour. So not all of that is going to stick, of course, because we're dealing with temperatures that are marginally above freezing. The best chance that this is going to stick is going to be on any grassy surfaces, wooden decks, really anything that's not made out of metal or concrete is going to be where you're going to be having the best shot of seeing some of that accumulation. So it doesn't look like it's going to be too much on the roads, just because of how marginal the temperatures are, and the road temperatures are probably going to be 36 or 37 degrees, especially if they can get some salt out on the roads. But again, some of those colder, grassier surfaces is where you could be dealing with some of this accumulation. And then Going through the day on Saturday, here's by the early evening, and you can see it is lightening up a little bit, so it's not as heavy, but still dealing with some of the snowfall. Looking at the same model, but in lower resolution, just because the high resolution model version doesn't go out far enough. You can still see some of that lighter to moderate snowfall through central North Dakota, even mixing into northern South Dakota, and then it really breaks off by early on Sunday morning. So here's what the snowfall totals look like from the European model. We're going to show you the NAM in just a little bit, but you can see that the European model keeps that snowfall further to the west, and then also in the higher elevations of western South Dakota. But other than that, no other areas look to be getting snowfall according to this model. We are dealing with some of these areas on the map popping up with under an inch of snowfall. I would say most of those areas won't see anything that's really noticeable or any major accumulation or really significant. But I think probably as you get into the blues and even the dark blues and purples, that's where you're going to start to see more of a decent accumulation that could actually stick on some of the roads and also some of those warmer surfaces. Here's what the GFS model is showing, which is the American model, and you can see that much of the western Dakotas and then back through Montana and Wyoming, all dealing with the potential for some snowfall, likely 1 to 4 inches, but when we account for melting and all of that, I think probably 0 to 2 inches of snowfall is more likely as of right now, and that would be my prediction. The NAM 3KM model, which is what we just looked at, shows a large footprint of heavy snowfall through central and western North Dakota. This looks very different from what the rest of the models are showing, but I will caution that the NAM model has been the most accurate, I would say, this winter in terms of picking up on early trends, and then eventually all the models shift to that. So I would actually take this with some certainty and with some, I would actually trust this a little bit more than I would trust any other model if they actually show this, because of the reliability of the NAM this winter. If we were to take into account for all the melting, you would probably be dealing with 1 to 4 inches of snowfall based on what this model is showing. Now let's start to transition over to the pattern, the overall pattern. So we're going to stop talking about the snowfall, and we're going to mostly start talking about some of the more of that cold air that's going to be dipping into the central and eastern United States, which is going to actually be one of the factors in causing that snowstorm. So you can see that this is your upper air map, and in the oranges, the reds, that's where you're dealing with high pressure or ridges. So that's what you see out on the west coast and also in through central Canada. So these are areas of high pressure that you can see dotted around the screen right here. The blue is where we're dealing with troughs or areas of colder air for the most part. So this is where we're dealing with that cold air coming in mostly from northern Canada, central and northern Canada, and then dipping into the eastern United States. So you can see that we have a general trough motion that looks like this. We have another trough and low pressure that's back through here. So all of that blue is signifying that we're dealing with a rather chilly air mass that's in place, and all that cold air, by the way, is coming straight out of parts of northern Canada. You can see the wind flow on this map, and it's coming straight out of central and northern Canada, and that is fairly cold air that's going to bring temperatures down into the 30s and even 20s for some of these areas, which is quite cold for this time of year. Here's what the 6 to 10 day outlook looks like according to the Climate Prediction Center. And you can see that we do have some rather high chances of being above average, especially as you get from the Rockies westward. So that's where you're going to have the best shot of being above normal. You can also see that touching parts of southern Texas and also into much of Florida as well, where we're dealing with that shot of being above normal. And then you can see, of course, in the eastern and central United States, we have that larger area that looks to be below normal over the next 6 and 10 days, which, by the way, this forecast goes from the 11th through the 15th. That's when this map is valid for. And again, the most below normal temperatures look to be in the northeast, the Ohio Valley, and then into the central plains. So within that corridor right there is where we're dealing with the most below normal temperatures. Here to be the 8 to 14 day outlook, and you can see that we have over the eastern United States, more centered over the east coast this time. That's where we're dealing with your below normal temperatures. So mainly restricted to areas that are from the Mississippi River eastward. That's where we're dealing with the bulk of the below normal temperatures, and then the above normal temperatures, that's going to expand a little bit more into the western and southwestern United States, as well as for central and southern Florida. That's going to be the main area that's going to be dealing with the below normal temperatures. Right now, it looks to be fairly average if you live in the northern plains or the Great Lakes for this time period from the 13th through the 19th. Here's what the 3 to 4 week outlook looks like, and you can see even on here, we have a rather high chance for much of the western, southern, and eastern United States to be in the above normal category. But even for the northern plains, either equal chances, meaning probably around average, or even a little bit below normal for parts of North Dakota and Montana, according to the Climate Prediction Center. And this would go from the 15th through the 28th. And if you're looking at the 1 month outlook, which goes all through May, if you were to average out the entire month of May, they're expecting it to be slightly below normal in parts of the Great Lakes, and then a little bit above normal over the southern half of the country from coast to coast. That's where they're expecting a little bit of above normal temperature. So from this, I think it would suggest that they are expecting likely later on in the forecast period into the second half of the month, it looks like it should start to warm up. So we're not going to be stuck in this cold pattern forever. I think it'll be a 1 or 2 week type of thing, and then eventually we will move on from that, and I think it'll move on to more of a warmer, milder, and nicer pattern. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.